Welcome back. As South Africa marks 30 years of democracy this year, the Human Sciences Research Council, in partnership with the University of the Free State's QwaQwa campus, has unveiled the findings of the Democracy at 30 study conducted over the past year. The survey aimed to provide a platform for local communities to take stock of the progress made and reflect on what the next 30 years needs to look like to achieve the promised better life for all. Deputy Director for the Centre for Gender and Africa Studies at the University of the Free State, Dr. Grey Magaiza, joins us for more on this discussion, and he joins us now via our video link. Dr. Grey, thank you so much for your time this evening here in SABC News. I mean, let's start off here. You have conducted this very important research, that talks to our democracy 30 years onwards. Tell us more about this study and how was it actually conducted?
Thank you so much, and good evening, Bali. Good evening to the viewers. So it was quite an important study. We used what we called a multi-method study, in which we used spatial temporal approaches as an initial approach to understand socio-demographic characteristics of QwaQwa. You know, over the last 30 years, what have been the land use, land cover changes in the area. Then we went on to focus on participatory co-creation of research instruments with the research team, which comprised our postgraduate students, community members, representatives from CBOs, and we were really trying to make sure we get a 360 view of the context in QwaQwa as an important locality, which was also a former homeland.
And maybe let's get to the meaty part of the study that you have conducted. You know, what were the findings? What has come out of this study? Are South Africans living a better life, or are the people of QwaQwa, better off than they were 30 years ago?
You know, it's complex, and if to put it simple, in simple terms, it's quite complicated, in the sense that you have a nostalgia of the homeland, where people are used to self-governance. There is state-led enablement of community development initiatives. There was in the homeland, people talked about better livelihood opportunities for them. Then you move on to the post-1994 scenario, where you see people talking about free housing, improved social service, access to social services. Then there's also a certain turn somewhere where, again, people talk about corruption, poor service delivery, decline in employment opportunities, increase in substance abuse, lowering in the quality of life. So it's quite a mixed bag, but one key theme that really was quite coming out was this nostalgia with the homeland.
And one would say, I mean, when you mention all of these issues around service delivery, problems around corruption, access to opportunities, one would also say that it's really no surprise then why we find ourselves under a government of national unity, where no political party in this country has a clear majority when it comes to winning at the polls this year.
Yeah, that's actually it. And I would say QwaQwa was probably one of the first local governance areas in South Africa where people basically kicked out, for lack of a better word, voted out the ANC at a certain point with the famous MAP 16. It sort of preempted what is happening now at a national level. And we can actually see that with the government of national unity, people are speaking. It really reflects the complex opinions, complex perspectives around the type of South Africa that South Africans want, and also the future that they seek.
And as we find ourselves under this GNU, and perhaps, speaking about, the future for the people of QwaQwa, are they optimistic that things will improve, and what improvements do they want to see?
You know, one thing that we picked up, you know, when we were doing this survey and these grounded interviews, was an emphasis on hope. You know, hope that things will get better, resilience of the people. You know, it seems to underpin this hope, and there is an optimism that, of course, things will get better, but also there is an optimism that whatever is happening now, whatever the challenges, you know, QwaQwa citizens are experiencing now, these will be overcome with better leadership, decisive leadership, or with communities literally taking charge of their own destiny. And I think we are not very far from that at this stage.
And now that you've conducted this research, how will it be utilized, you know, to aid and better the lives of the people of QwaQwa?
You know, a research of this type, you know, it reminds me of Spivak, an Indian feminist literary critic, who asks, can the subaltern speak? We went to the grassroots, literally to the grassroots, to ask questions about their hopes, their aspirations, you know, in the context of democracy at 30. And what this research points out is these are the common views that policymakers, that those in decision-making positions, those with the ability to allocate resources at a national level, at a local level, and decide on how they must be used, can literally see what the grassroots demands, what the grassroots need, and to what extent these opinions and views can actually be important in deciding the policy metrics of QwaQwa, even at a local governance level.
All right, Dr. Grey, thank you so much for that insight and, you know, that research that has been conducted, very important research, 30 years onwards. What South Africa looks like is particularly for the people of QwaQwa. That's Dr. Grey Magaiza. He is from the University of the Free State, Deputy Director for Center for Gender and African Studies.